And as adults, I think it's sometimes hard. It's easy to forget that because for us, nothing feels better than sleeping. Nothing motivates us to get up aside from our children are waking us up, or just having to go to work and doing life things. But so it's easy to forget that, and there are their little minds that these things are better to them. So can we just delay it? And you're right. Sometimes we have to stop it for a little bit of time. It doesn't mean that it can't come back.
Yeah, exactly.
But if we start noticing those wakings coming in again, then we always want to take a step back and look at the things you just talked about to see maybe it is motivating for them, because I've definitely experienced that with my own children.
Sure, same.
That we're like, oh yeah, I guess that is interesting to you. So.
Yep. And it's always fine when it's happening. When they come into bed, it's wonderful. I love the snuggles.
Yeah.
But then when it's day 5 of it, you start to think, oh, well, they need more sleep, and so do I. So think about the motivation, delaying the motivation, again, put yourself in their shoes. What can you do to kind of help offset that for them? And then that kind of takes us into like almost a feed confusion topic, because a lot of babies, like I'll say maybe 6+ months. I was gonna say 6 to 12, but anytime there's a feeding after kind of 6 months, there's this chance of what we call feed confusion, where the feed works. It's, they wake up, they sleep for a while, they wake up, they have a good feed, go back to bed, finish off their night, and it's beautiful, right? We've all been there. It's lovely. You can just feed them, put them back down, then they finish off the night. You do too. Sometimes what starts to happen when babies are actually ready to sleep through the night is the opposite, where they start to wake up more often. And it's very frustrating as a parent, because you'll have this beautiful kind of schedule and pattern, and it's so predictable. And then all of a sudden, your baby's waking up at 3 a.m. and then 2 a.m. and then 1 a.m. And then that's what happened for me. It got to 9:30 one night. She wanted to feed at 9:30 p.m. where normally she'd been feeding at 4 a.m. So we can kind of see that, from the outside. Sometimes when you're in it, it's hard to see, right? But obviously that's what we help with. But also just, write it down, kind of take a look at it from the outside. Is the feed creeping up? Are they starting to get confused? Are they, right? We all lack time perception. Your baby does not know what time it is. So they're going on their hunger cues. So if they're waking up at, 4 a.m., sure, it could be hunger. If they're waking up at 10 p.m., though, not likely hunger. Right. So is it illness? Is it teething, right? Is there an actual factor? Or is it just this feed confusion?
Yeah,
so
totally. And I would say most times, when working with families, I don't know if you find this, but that kind of, when that feed is in there and they're kind of at the cusp of removing it, we see that kind of start creeping in. And that's something, we slowly start talking about and weeding out, but usually that's kind of the culprit for it, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes we can weed it out by just, saying, okay, well, we know the 10 p.m. feed isn't hunger, so we'll respond, but we won't offer the feed, and then still offer that. Or sometimes we have to kind of suggest that the parents, remove the feeds. Yeah. And usually then they start to sleep really well, because they start to realize, oh, sleep's actually pretty awesome, and it's worth sleeping through for.
Totally. Mm-hmm. And then as a parent, you feel like you made the right choice, and that feels good, too, when we see our kids benefiting from the change that we made too.
Yeah. And then you go back to, like Lauren said, about the feed and what's that morning feed, right? When we're establishing that hunger versus habit and whether they're ready, that feed confusion and bumping up is just another kind of tool for us to make that decision, right? Totally. We're always just trying to build our decisions up so that we know we're making a good decision as a parent. So, if you see this and they're a good weight, they're a good age, they had been feeding and now it's kind of creeping up, then that's likely that they're actually ready to sleep through the night, which is great. It's just, how do we get there?
Right. So. And as parents, sometimes offering in that awake window, if we can, offer 2 feeds, things that we can do as parents that make us feel better when we are kind of weeding it out, that, we're checking off our imaginary boxes of that their intake was good, so we don't feel guilty when we're making this change, because obviously our goal is to make sure that our kids are well cared for, and we want to make sure we feel good when we're kind of, making that change for them too. So
yeah, right. And that morning feed, it should be nice and
big.
Nice big feed then. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.